Hey guys, and welcome back to the Spruce and Linen channel. I'm Janelle, and today we're going to talk all about weaving Christmas ornaments. And this might seem kind of early, but really, if you like making things, it's great to start now. So I'm going to teach you how to make this little woven Christmas ornament on our new Christmas ornament looms. So let's get started. So we have 4 different ornament looms that we offer in the shop. There's a couple here that I've already woven on, and then we have these 2 as well. So we've got this little tree, a house. I think this one might be my favorite. We have just a typical Christmas ball and this little square one. This one is so versatile too because it doesn't need to just be for holidays. And I mean, even this little house one could also just be for any time of year. So you can see here, this one is not perfectly square. It's a little bit rectangular. And this is great because it leaves you enough space to actually put fringe on it as well if you wanted to. And I will maybe throw up on the screen right now a couple of pictures of some ornaments that I made last year. And so there's lots of different things you can do with them. So this one I did the other day. I think it's really fun. I just stuck with neutrals and did this little string on the top. And I think these would make such a fantastic gift, or you could totally like deck out your tree with tons of these. And I think that would be really pretty. So you can find those in the shop. There's a link in the description box below. Today we're going to focus on this little weaving. You can see that it's kind of like a houndstooth pattern. It's really easy. The only hard part is actually threading a needle. Now I did make the holes on these little looms big enough that if you're using just a cotton or linen warp string, it's actually easy enough to get it through the hole without even needing a needle. But for getting the chunkier yarn in, you are gonna need a needle. This one is like, I probably could have found a bigger one, but it's the one I have, so we're gonna get started with that. So I'm just gonna be using 2 different chunky yarns. Again, this is Lion Brand Thick and Quick, Loops and Threads Cozy Wool, Big Box Craft Yarn, just to make this simple. So just showing you on this one, we have 2 different color of our warp string. So I did 2 black, 2 white, 3 black, 2 white, and 2 black. So there are an odd amount of holes in these little looms, and part of the reason I did that and why I like to do that, one, that makes this pattern symmetrical. Another thing is that if you wanted to put a piece of ribbon or something like that, if you start on the over on this side, you're going to end on the over on that side so that the ribbon will sit really nicely. Again, that's in those photos from last season that I posted. Again, we'll throw up a picture of one. Actually, I'm just going to go get them. I still have them. Okay, hold on. So a couple of improvements that we made on the looms for this year is we made the holes a little bit bigger so that you can literally just put your warp string right through the holes without needing a needle. Again, this is where that kind of rectangle shape comes into play so that you have room for fringe if you would like to put fringe on it, but you can also do this where there is no fringe, and that's super cute too. The odd amount of strings makes it so that you could put something like a ribbon in your weaving, and you start on the over a warp string and you end on over a warp string, so then that ribbon's gonna sit really nicely just like this. And then I did some pick and pick, and this one just has some plain weave and sumac stitch. All right, so let's get started with our little houndstooth weaving here. Again, you can probably find a needle that has a little bit bigger of an eye that can still fit through these holes. This is the one I have, so I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to need 7 lengths of my black yarn. And I'm gonna take a little extra there as well. And then just 4 of the white. So this is the only tricky part about this is getting this thick yarn threaded onto this little needle. But what I like to do is I like super squish the end, and then I kind of use my thumbnail to poke it through. And then I hope that I can grab all of it. There we go. So we're simply just gonna decide which is the top or bottom. So this is gonna be my bottom. And I'm gonna come up through the bottom on that first, leave a tail on that first hole, So I come up through the bottom on the first hole, leave a little tail so that you can tie. Then we go up, and then on the back, you're just gonna go beside. And then down to the next hole. So I'm going to leave this little tail over here, and then we will tie it together with our white string after. So next, I'm gonna skip 2 holes because that's where the white will come in. I'm going to go to the 3rd hole, and I'm going to just continue on warping. We're gonna have 3 in this section. So again, once you're back here, you can just go beside like so. And then our last 2 strings are also going to be black. So I'm gonna just skip over to that last one, or second last hole. And then on this end, I'm just gonna tie a little knot by looping through here. And tying a little knot on top. And then once again, leave yourself a bit of a tail so that you can weave this end back in so that knot doesn't want to show through the top. So we're going to take our off-white yarn now, thread it on that needle again, and warp the rest of these spots here. So again, we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to take these 2 tails and tie them together. And then we can just continue on warping the white into all the rest of these spaces. And then back here, kind of the same that we did up here, we're just going to loop around that loop and tie ourselves a knot. All right, so we're going to let all these little tails just hang out as we weave, and then we'll weave them back in later. So what we're going to do is, this is similar to weaving a plaid, and we're just going to follow the same order here on our weft that we did our warp. So we'll be doing 2 black rows, 2 white rows, 3 black rows, 2 white rows, and 2 black rows. And I'm going to be just using plain weave. So I'm going to measure out my string here, as well as the black. So we're going to start with the black, and I'm just going to come up through the back here and leave a tail, and then just start going in with plain weave. Now we can go in with the white. I'm going to start on the left side this time. Okay, so when you're coming back in with the black, so we've done our 2 rows of black, 2 rows of white. When you're coming back in with the black, you're actually going to go through this little end loop. This is just a way that you don't have to cut off this end and start over and have a ton of ends at the end to tuck in. And then you can just continue it on with the black. Now we're going back in with the white. So again here, we're gonna just loop through, we're gonna come through that loop rather. And then continue on with our plain weave. Now, since that's our last row of the white, we're going to just tuck in that end and trim off some of that excess, and then finish off with the black, once again coming through this white loop on the side. And that's where our tail is, so I'm going to kind of hang on to the tail back here. And then now that we're done that last row, we can loop that back to the back as well. Cut off some of that excess. And now we can go in and tuck in all the ends. On these kind of little frame looms, where you're actually keeping the weaving on the loom, I find these kind of somewhat flexible plastic darning needles to be really handy when you're tucking in all your ends. The last thing that we're gonna do is just put a little hanging string on here. The string that I'm using is just like a, it's like a waxed thread meant for sewing leather, but obviously you can use whatever string you want. I just really liked the color of this on these little looms. So on these looms, I like to just come through that very far hole and then tie a knot and do the same thing on the other side. And there you have it, a little houndstooth tree ornament. I think these are so cute, and there's just so much things you can do with them, especially these little square ones. You can really have a lot of fun. You could use really thin yarns if you want to get some more detail. I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with when weaving on these little ornament looms. As I mentioned before, you can find these all in the shop. The link is in the description box below. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications when I post new videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.